Hello, sales wizards. Hello, hello. I hope you guys are all doing wonderful and are having a great start to the week. I'm going to go ahead and invite some people that wanted to be a part of this training. My name is Marina, and I'm the creator and founder of this group, The Sales Wizardry. And today I am here to talk to you about client attraction from the state of panic. This usually happens towards the end of the month. This usually happens to a lot of new coaches and healers or new service-based entrepreneurs who have not been in business for too long to have a consistent pipeline of clients. And when it gets to be towards the end of the month, start freaking out about, oh crap, am I going to be able to pay my bills and utilize my business as a way to sustain myself? So today I'm going to be talking to you about tips and tricks to help alleviate that. First of all, I wanted to invite some people that wanted to be a part of this. I see somebody popped on. Hi, Dave. Good to see you. And another client actually last night inspired this. Let me just go ahead and invite. Hey, Teresa. Good to see you. I was about to invite you. How is the volume, you guys? Because I have the AC on. Let me know if it's too loud. I'll turn it off for... You know what? I'll just go turn it off for the time of the live stream. Okay, Sierra, whoever's popping on, say hi. I want to make sure that the people that wanted to be here are here. A few more. Crystal. Okay. As you're popping on, tell me where you're watching from. I am in beautiful, sunny Maui. I went horseback riding this morning. It was beautiful. Yet again, to those of you that are just popping on, today I'm talking about kind of a client request topic that has been coming up, especially because we're approaching the end of the month, and a lot of people are freaking out about whether or not they're going to be able to make their bills. Or, you know, people who perhaps are not as seasoned in business and haven't developed a consistent client attraction strategy, where perhaps they've only had like one or two clients and have not been able to systemize their client attraction approach so far. And so by the time the end of the month comes around, they're like, oh my God, I need a client or else. So today I'm going to be talking to you about how to go ahead and alleviate that, how to get out of it, and how to make sure that you're not homeless by the end of June so that we can continue seeing each other, so that we can continue running our businesses. Hi, Teresa. Good to see you. All right. I invited everybody. So as I mentioned what today is about, obviously I don't need to describe the symptoms, but this is for you if you're freaking out about whether or not, you know, where's your next client coming from. If you have tried perhaps the same kind of strategies that have gotten you your last client, but they're not working for the next one, and you're like, what the hell? And you're frustrated and you're freaked out. If you feel like you've been consistent and you're doing all the things and your energy is on point and you're like, you know, really excited about your offer, but then you get discouraged and then you get freaked out because you're like, I'm still not, I don't know, there's just something, what's happening here? Obviously, this is for you if you are a service-based entrepreneur, coach, consultant, healer, IT developer, designer. Usually I work with mostly intuitive-based people who have soul-based businesses and are very, very keen on energy work. So a lot of what I'll be describing today has to do with your creativity, creation, energy, and how you get out of this loop that you are in. And I will be incorporating strategy as well, because that's what I do. I incorporate both strategy and energy work in all facets of what I do. So if you have any questions at any point in time, please go ahead and feel free to stop me. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and start hammering away, describing what is going on here as to why things are not working. I'm going to go ahead kind of diagnose and describe what is going on here energetically and strategically as to why things are not going and or the way that you want them to. And then I'm going to give you three main tips in 3 steps by which you could go ahead and get yourself out of the energetic hamster wheel of a loop, and how and what you can do strategically to make sure that you do go ahead and get your next client. Sorry, you guys, super dehydrated. Okay, so what is happening here right now Does anybody have any questions before we begin? Hi, Dave. Hi, Michelle. Good to see you all. So what is happening right now? If you have gotten a client before and you have had no issues attracting clients, what has gotten you clients before, especially if you are an intuitive soul-based entrepreneur who's very keen on energy, is not going to work for your next clients. I know you're just like, what? Especially if you're finding yourself on this live stream, there's a reason as to why. If you have been at a certain place where you're doing the same strategy, say for 3 weeks or more, that has perhaps gotten you clients before, right now what's happening collectively, we're all growing and expanding. And if you do have the intentions to expand your business, the strategies that have worked for you before or the energetic space that you have been in before will not necessarily work to get you your next client, which is why you are stuck and which is why you have found yourself here. If you are a brand new entrepreneur who's only had a couple of clients, the same thing applies for you. Basically, what is happening when you are an intuitive based entrepreneur, you have chosen a path of enlightenment that is literally it's like a bullet train, okay? So I just want to pass a stream where I write my scripts and books. And there's ways to do that. There's just a lot of strategic and energetic things that you first need to get to before you can set that on autopilot. And a lot of that comes at first with getting yourself out of this energetic hamster wheel of like, oh my God, I need a client. Let me preempt everything as well by saying this, you guys, and you guys are also may not like this, but our clients are not here to save us. Our clients are not here to pay our bills. To those of you that are intuitive-based entrepreneurs, you know that your work is so much greater, that money is a bonus, that money is just a value exchange that we use here on the planet. And as Dave and I, you and I have both talked about, a lot of spiritual beings, the universe, God, whatever it is, they do not understand the concept of money. You have chosen this path to do spiritual, healing, amazing work. Your spirit guides are not going to bring you a client because you need to pay your bills because they don't understand that. So your clients are not here to save you. Your clients are not here to pay your debt. That is the first mindset shift that needs to happen in order to get out of this hamster wheel. So I guess I'm just going to go ahead right into it. I wanted to explain a little bit more on the friction of energetics as to why people get on this hamster wheel in the first place, and share a little bit of a personal story as well, if you guys want to hear this. Oh, you're so welcome, Sierra. Good. Yeah, please come back and watch the replay. There's going to be a lot of goodies in here. So, do I share the personal story? Yeah. When I first started, this business 2.5 years ago, it wasn't until October of last year that I finally got consistent in my business, with consistent monthly revenue, with consistent energetic output, with consistent self-trust that I could be in this full time and perform my holy work and have this unfuckwithable self-trust to be able to spend money as if knowing that more is always coming. Part of what has happened in order to get here, I was talking with one of my clients. Yeah, the concept of money is not it's not known outside of our reality. So your clients are not here to save you from your debts. That's the first thing that needs to go. So one of the things that has happened, I have gone through the spiritual journey, I have gone through the strategic journey, and which is why I combine the both in all facets of my work. But here is where it really clicked in, this concept. Okay, and I was talking to my client last night who has spurred this on, who essentially has inspired this live stream that I know a lot of people can benefit from. So it was October of last year. I had owed my mentor $3,500. I had to have oral surgery. I had a really crazy toothache. There was no $3,500 in sight. There was not even 25, there was not even 15, there was not even $500 in sight, you guys. So this is how I was like, I don't know where $3,500 is going to come out of nowhere in one freaking week, let alone paying for my tooth, let alone paying for car insurance and bills. I'm like, what? And so last night when my client texted me and freaking out and essentially being in the state of like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay my bills, like, oh my gosh, I've been doing all the things, I've been showing up consistently. I have signed a client before, I'm doing all the right things, I'm doing energy work. What in the fuck is actually happening? And the biggest thing I told her, the only way out of this is through. The only way out of this hamster wheel is through it. And I'll get to the specific mindset or specific techniques that you guys can utilize to help you get out of it. But as I was sharing my experience, I was like, it was a combination of powerful intention and freaked out self-trust. But the self-trust was there. I'm like, not doing this is not an option. Like, being homeless is just not an option. My mind could not fathom it. My being could not fathom it. I couldn't fathom, like, not working with my mentor. I was like, well, what is she going to do? Fire me? Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? And I did everything possible, but I got very, very creative. What did I do? I started posting on Craigslist. I started posting on Instagram, which is not my platform. Started doing live streams. I started doing more engagements. But the thing is, a lot of those become useless when you're in that state, and you're probably feeling that every single engagement, that every single post just kind of leads to crickets, and you're like, what the hell? The strategies that you normally use, it's almost as if people feel your desperation. And at that point in time, people definitely felt my desperation. They were like, people feel energy. So what did I do instead? I did something kind of counterintuitive. I had an intuitive hit. It was a Wednesday night to go to my favorite coffee shop. And I was like, I have so much stuff to do. I need to email my email list. I need to do this. I need to do that. Still in a state of panic. My boyfriend at that time invited me to come work with him to like paint some walls overnight. I'm like, how much are you gonna pay me? He's like, I don't know, $200-300. I'm like, well, that's $200 to $300 that I don't have. So okay, let's do it. I started driving that direction, and I was like, oh, and I got the intuitive hit to go grab my favorite latte. I never ended up working with him that night, but my favorite latte, when I got the favorite latte, when I was just like, you know what, gave myself the space and the permission through energy and through action to know that this is happening somehow, some way, to know that I'm enough, to know that everything I have done was enough, that so much space has cleared that I'm like, I could go and get a goddamn latte. Like, I don't have to be at the computer, because that's not what's going to make the client come to me. It's not the magical marketing words. Quite frankly, no matter how magical your marketing is, if you are in this state, it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what kind of posts you're putting out. It doesn't matter how beautiful your live streams are. If you are in the state of this panic hamster wheel, you and I both know there's no way in hell that a client will happen. And it's very counterintuitive. As soon as I got the latte, I came over to his place and I got a notification in my inbox. No, wait, hold on. Let me backtrack. That was later that night. I ended up, the following day, you guys, I booked $12,000 in sales, but here's how that happened. There was a woman who was on one of my live streams 4 days prior that I didn't see, who was like, hey, I'm interested in your program. And she actually said that in comments, but I was too busy freaking out to even see that she was in my field for the last 5 days. She was right there. I messaged her that night. She booked a sales call for the following day. And I was like, hallelujah, so much space has cleared up. I never ended up going painting walls with my boyfriend. I was like, well, I have this sales call. She was already interested, and I had this in my like heart and mind that I knew she was going to say yes. And then I like posted some posts that I already had like pre-made, right? I was like, all right, this is just kind of part of what I do, is rotating my content. And then I had another person book a sales call, and to date, this is one of my craziest days, that I ended up booking $2,000 in sales the next day with both of these people. This was a Thursday when $3,500 was due on Friday, and then some more bills after that. On the same week that I had oral surgery and I had no $100 and I needed to come up with $3,500. So trust me when I say that I have been there, and that was not the only time, and that was not the first time. So let's go ahead and reverse engineer and break apart like what happened there. Because now you're going to be like, okay, so I need to go get a latte, right? And that's what's going to lead me my next client. No, please don't get a latte. I mean, get a latte if you want to go caffeinate yourself, but that's not what's going to manifest your next client, you see. Let's go ahead and reverse engineer like what has happened there. What has happened there? And this is number one. Tip number one, do anything and everything that you can to remove the anxiety. First of all, that's the number one pain point that hurts right now. That's the first place you need to go, is remove yourself from the panic, detach whatever this anxiety says to you, because the truth of the matter is you already know the next step that you need to take in order for your client to show up. Quite frankly, your client and your next client is already in your field. And I know you're like, what the fuck, Marina? I can promise you, your clients and every client that you'll ever work with, you're probably already connected with them or will be at some point in near future. The minute you could get out of the panic state and the minute that you can get out viscerally from the inside out. There are so many rituals to go ahead and do this. Some people prefer just mindless meditation. The biggest thing that I would suggest, you guys, is removing the attachment to business or to clients as somehow, some way you are going to die and be homeless. Because the minute you can detach that you need rescue from your clients, the minute you step into more empowered zone, because you are not here to be rescued by your clients. They are to be rescued by you, but that's not really truth either. You are both to be empowered by each other, especially if you're doing energetic and souls work. You're not here to be rescued by your clients. So whenever you go into your rituals, any kind of control, any kind of notion of power, any kind of notion of assumption that you're giving to where the money is coming from for your bills, needs to be removed in whatever way you do this, whether you do visceral body rituals, whether you do visualization. And this really needs to be a visceral experience. Like, until you feel that gripping anxiety just release, whatever you need to do to get there. For one of the things that I did that entire week, you guys, was I constantly visualized giving my mentor the money that I owed her. I kept visualizing that, and that allowed me to be calm and focus on the result that I wanted. The other thing that I did, I literally, like, between posts, anytime, any single time I had experienced some sort of like, oh fuck, like moment, I literally would just go outside for a walk. I would meditate, I would exercise, I would remove that loop of anxiety, right? And at the same time, like, you know how I was saying your next client is not going to come from the same energetic stance that this client has come from? Right now, this pimple really wants to come to a head. This pimple represents within it every single ounce of your energetic attachment or bullshit about how money comes to you, about how money is created. And right now, I can guarantee you that if you are in this wheel, that you are in the belief system that money comes to you instead of from you. And this experience, as soon as that gets dissolved, it's going to continue. And for me, this has continued for about 4 months, if not longer. I have suffered through this syndrome for quite a long time. I had sporadic clients throughout the summer of last year where I did like one-off sessions and things like that. It wasn't up until fall. And even then, I still experienced these last ditch attempts of money energy and its control and manipulation and the corruption that has been placed on us with a lot of the mentorships that we hear, about, oh yeah, just make a sale and just sell clients. all of this needed to completely dissolve, and a lot of these patterns for me have not dissolved up until like January. So I do not want you guys to go through the same shit. Yet the only way to get to that trusting standpoint where you're like, you know what, I know who I am, I know my offer, I know what I'm here to do, and I know that I will be supported and I will be compensated. I know that my clients are not here to rescue me. I know that I'm doing this because I want to. I know that I'm doing this because I'm divinely supported. I know that I'm doing this because this is the right thing to do, and I know this in my heart. And the next thing that I'm going to get to is more of a strategic thing. Is about your offer and getting excited about your offer. Does anybody have any questions about this whole notion of removing anxiety, about removing every last bit and every last ounce of any kind of manipulative energy that money has placed on you, of where you feel like it should come from? I used to be like, also, I'm like, clients out of thin air, what the fuck? And actually, that's the next training I'm going to do about the energetics behind clients out of thin air. So I'm going to go into this in a little bit more detail. I'm going to reverse engineer it for you as to what exactly happens for the client to just be like, oh, poof, out of thin air. What kind of divine and strategic combination needs to happen there. As somebody who has experienced signing clients both through intentional and strategic implementation and execution, as well as just random manifestations, there's no separation. There's really no separation between the two. If you guys don't have any questions on this, one of the other things that I will say is I have so much compassion for those of you that are in this state. I do. I have been there time and time again. I have been there for like quite some time, and it has taken a lot of dedication just to retrain my mind into a new neural pathway and into a new paradigm to actually install into my system that yes, I am always supported, that yes, I am successful, and that my work here is really important. And that's essentially my next point of what is your work. When you remove yourself from first the money and any kind of external pressure that it's putting on you, you then can go ahead and take a look at some things in a little bit more grounded of a way, in a little bit more of a strategic of a way. So this requires you to go ahead and really start divulging your offer. After you have gone through dispelling anxiety and all of these other things that I just spoke about, this is where you get a little bit more grounded and start taking a look at what is your mission, why are you doing this, what is your offer, and getting really excited about it. This also takes a look at the client, which I'm going to talk about next. But the more you visualize the energy of, wow, like how amazing is it for somebody? Like what kind of a gift is it for somebody to have this offer right now? Like somebody at home is sitting in the same state that you are sitting in right now, panicked, because they don't have the solution that you can give them. Does this make sense? So when you start to remember your offer, it takes the pressure of like, what do I need to do to get the next client, to what does the client need to do to get to me? Because I have this thing and it's beautiful. You start to shift the energy. You start to completely invert it when you go ahead and start becoming a student of your own work. This is something I always say in my live streams. This is something I always say to my clients. The more you study your own work, the more you study just how amazing it is, the more you really revel in the testimonials or the feedback that you get, the more you reverse engineer how exactly you were able to get amazing results for your clients. The more you fall in love with yourself, the more you fall in love with your work, the more of a gift that you feel it is. So do you see how much the energy shifts from, oh my God, I need a client to pay my bills, to, wow, this client, if they don't have this, they can literally like die. They can literally spend thousands of dollars, on healthcare, when I can remove their health issues within like one energy session, whatever it might be that you do. This client can spend the next several years hiring business coach after business coach after business coach, being shown strategies that don't work for them, when instead they could have me and I could channel it for them, because it leads them to have more clarity that's like more working with their own creation mechanics and with their own energy, right? So how much more money are they going to spend if I don't actually show up and give them this? I have a video here that talks about the mindset behind sales. And one of the things that I always say is, what is a client losing by not having you show up and do your work? So do you see how this changes the energy from, oh my God, I am so anxious, oh my God, I have bills to pay, remove the anxiety, remove the mindset of my clients are here to rescue me, to then now like, wow, I am here to do this amazing work, and go and study it. Get out of your emotional brain. Go ahead and go study your offer. Go ahead and study it phase by phase by phase. If you record your sessions with your clients, go watch your favorites. If you have live streams that were your favorites, that people have gotten amazing feedback and amazing value from, go ahead and watch them. Go ahead and study and take a look at yourself to see your own brilliance, because this is really going to shift your energy from oh fuck to wow, I'm fucking incredible. And that is what's going to allow you to get your next client, right? So once you get there, because this is also going to allow you to get out of your emotional state and go a little bit more into your logical mind. It's going to allow you to create better content, quite frankly, because you're going to have a lot more clarity. Step 3 is to get out of your mind and into theirs. Because right now, like I said, they're sitting at home and freaking out about something right now. And it's your job to figure out as to what it is. And the biggest way, if the above two do not work for you, then this one better work for you. The reason being, this is where I would suggest either market research. This is where I would suggest talking to people. This is where I would suggest actually going out there and speaking with like other people's problems and listening to other people's problems. Because whenever you listen to other people's problems, your own problem of like, oh fuck, how am I going to pay my bills, turns into like, holy shit, I have a solution to that. Do you want my solution? This is actually what I do. This is exactly what I do. Do you want to get on a call with me and let's talk about it? Let's go get coffee. You might even get a sales call that way, right? So I always say this is the part where you ask, instead of saying, what do I do to get the next client? What does the client need to hear in order to get to me? What does the client need in order to get to me? Do you see how this completely inverts the energy and changes it all together? It gets you off of the hamster wheel of like, oh my God, I can't pay my bills. And completely reverses it to like, who is this person in front of you? Just like you have taken the time to study your offer, I would recommend spending some time, especially if you are a really intuitive being. And if you are in this group, you probably are, because I tend to attract people who are a lot like me. I call myself the bridge energy, and that's what I've been called, where I'm literally the bridge between the left and the right brain hemisphere, that I'm the bridge between the strategy and spirituality, and that's what I lead with in all facets of my work. On step 3, so like I said, the first step is really diving into the energy, the emotion, getting yourself away from the anxiety, extrapolating that, and removing this anxiety outside of your body and looking at it. Like, what is it trying to tell you about your money patterns? What is it trying to tell you? Removing any kind of generational money programming, whatever. Then the second step would be to really use your strategic mind and to take a look at your offer. Take a look at what is it that you're offering. Really come back to your own brilliance, study your own work, study your live streams, study the feedback that you have received from your clients, etc., to really realize that you're fucking brilliant and your work is needed in the world. The third step, I would recommend combining the two here. Really spend studying, what kind of people are attracted to me right now? What are they wanting? And going and asking them questions, going and talking to people. And then if you do have, any kind of like meditation practice, visualization, if you do channeling, like I do, ask them in that space. Journal about it. Go do a brain dump. Allow the other part of your brain to fill in this answer for you. But this kind of answer is going to be given to you that's going to be more external. It's not going to be like, oh fuck, what do I do because I can't pay my bills? It's going to be like, wow, let me tune in to the needs of my client. Like, what is it that they actually need to hear? Do you see how it completely removes the fear altogether and completely settles your energy into why it is that you're brilliant, and completely inverts the paradigm of like, oh my freaking God, what do I need to do? To like, oh my God, I'm brilliant. To who needs this and what's their actual problem? Because you see, what happens is whenever we get stuck in the rut of like, what do I need to do? 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 We get stuck in an abusive self-sabotage cycle that only perpetuates this kind of like psychic and emotional self-abuse, which doesn't allow us to graduate to actually receive, money or the next client, or receive that amazing download that's going to write the magical post that's going to allow you to get the next client or sign the next client or lead you to the next conversation or lead you to a place where your prospects may be hanging out. Is this making sense to you? And the more you constrict this energy with, oh fuck, bills are due, oh my gosh, the less you are receptive to the people that are already in your field. As I mentioned my own story, the client that signed up the following day was actually in my field for 4 to 5 days, and I just like failed to see it because of the hamster wheel that I chose to be spinning in, instead of focusing my energy outward as to why my work is important. Is this making sense to you guys? A lot of this too, like like I was telling one of my clients yesterday, I have so much compassion for this because I so remember this kind of struggle. It's almost like, if you guys remember, like back in high school, you had to run the mile and that last lap just always really sucked. This is what I would equate it to. If you're at this space in your business where you have signed on clients before, or where you have tried strategies that have, allowed you a certain level of consistency, and then all of a sudden now you're like, oh my God, nothing's working, holy shit, I'm freaking out. That is really awesome, because you know what that tells me? That means you're like really quite near to a pretty expansive breakthrough, whether it be monetarily breakthrough, whether it be a new level of client, whether it be a new level of clarity or direction in your business altogether, whether it be a new evolution of impeccable and unfuckwithable self-trust, where there's nothing and no one that will ever be able to derail the ability to know and know and know every single month, especially when you're entrepreneurial, that your bills are not just going to be paid, but you're also going to have money left over. And that is what I wish upon each and every single one of you. I do not want you guys to go through the shit that I went through with this. I had immense amount of self-doubt, and I know like now most of you are like, what, really, you're so confident and you're like rocking it. It took a lot to get here, and the biggest battle was not like what strategy to use. The biggest battle was this internal battle. The biggest battle was flipping the paradigm on its head, and that's always the biggest battle. So do any of you have any questions about anything that I've mentioned on the 3-step process? The first step of the process being doing anything and everything to remove the anxiety. Listen to what it has to tell you. There's a reason why it's coming up. Whether it be the last bit of money patterns, or whether it be a really fucked up, corrupted paradigm that you're functioning in, that your clients need to rescue you. Whether it would be, the addiction to cortisol and staying in fight or flight, because our bodies that's arousal. Like, our bodies tend to get addicted to that shit, and whenever you're an entrepreneur, you can't be functioning in those highs or lows. So listening to the anxiety, that's the first step. Listening to what it has to tell you, because it might not even be about you being homeless. It might not even be about you feeling like you're not worthy and your work sucks. It may not have anything to do with your business. It might be something deeper. So there's a lot there. If it's coming out, like I was telling someone last night, it might even be some fucked up trauma that you picked up in childhood about, what if I'm abandoned or something. Most of us have some sort of childhood wound. In the minute that we give it any kind of pasture to run is when it steps aside, is when it, not steps aside, but loosens its grip on your body. And then you'll be like, I'm trying to run a business here, bro. Like, what do you need? You need a hug? Here's a hug. Here's some candy. Okay, now what? Now let's go to the offer. And, I do recommend giving it a little more time than that, because otherwise it's going to keep coming up. And especially if you want to get to this, like, unfuckwithable self-trust. And if it keeps coming up, then, like I said, it gives me... it signifies that you are about to really hit it big, whether it be in your own personal development, whether it be in business, or both, and those two are not separate. And then, of course, once you ground yourself from your crazy panic state, come back to basics, come back to business, come back to what is it that I'm selling? Why? Why is it freaking amazing? What does it do for people? How does it do this for people? How do I get results for people? Like, how is mine, showing up on live streams? Like, how does that benefit the world? How is mine, this post that I want to make, how is that really going to blow somebody's mind? How is that going to change their paradigm? How is that going to stop them while they're sitting scrolling Facebook on the toilet and really offer them a different perspective? And by just kind of allowing yourself to extrapolate that, you're really going to see a totally different... You're pretty harsh to your inner child. Are you talking about me or you, Heather? I know, I have been really harsh to my inner child, which is why I've gone through this shit for as long as I have. It's pretty wild, And then we, like, punish our anxiety for showing up. Like, why are you here? I have to go post and I have to go get clients, so fuck you. I have shit to do. And all my inner child wanted was this latte. I was telling the personal story earlier that you have heard before, about going and getting a cup of coffee and then closing $12,000 in sales the next day when I had, like, no money and I had oral surgery that same week. I think my car broke too, like 2 weeks prior. I mean, talk about chaos and a shit show, and having that kind of self-resilience and self-reliance. So Dave, maybe that's what you need to do. Your inner child wants to go outside and launch some rockets. A lot of times, okay, this is the other thing that I'll say about energy, right? You see these kinds of posts of people are like, I went and had the hottest sex and then I closed a $10,000 client. Well, goddamn, right? And you're like, okay, let me go have some hot sex. And where's my $10,000 client? I totally just had sex. I didn't, but okay. So no manifestation is like the next one, which is why it's really important to ask, like, what does your anxiety actually ask you to do? Is it necessarily go and do more play? What if when you go outside and launch some rockets, you're going to come across somebody on the street who's going to, kick up a conversation with you and asks you, what do you do for a living? And you'll be like, you know what? I teach people psychic development, and I teach people how to talk to other beings and how to perform magic rituals. They'll be like, holy shit, you're the most interesting person I ever met. What's your website? Right? You never know. So each one of these manifestations... This is the other thing about step 1. Your anxiety requires space to run. Your anxiety, sometimes it might not necessarily be anxiety. It's like an inner fight of an assumption. Well, let me go into that a little more. So you have this assumption, which is pretty self-abusive, about what you feel like you need to do in order to be successful. I feel like I need to post 10 times a day, and I need to have the offer that's like the kitty's titties, and I need to hire a copywriter that's going to, blast my content all over all the platforms. Anything less than that, you're going to think that you suck, right? And you're going to think that, like, that's what you need to be successful. When in fact, your inner child, your creative self, your intuitive self already has, like I was saying earlier, already has the exact answers that you need in order to go ahead and book that next client. Why is it that I needed the latte? Why is it that I needed to go and get a latte before signing like $12,000 worth in sales the following day? The biggest thing is space. Like, I needed to give myself space from 16-hour workdays, email list, Craigslist, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. because there was a program up here like, I'm not enough as I am, that I need to work 16-hour day right now in order to manifest this client. When my inner child and my intuitive self is like, you're fucking awesome, let's go play, let's go get a goddamn latte, you've done so much work, you're totally fine, your work is brilliant, like let's go hang out for a second. Sometimes these kinds of intuitive gifts or these intuitive hits that you might get as soon as you dispel the anxiety and give it space will not make any sense. They will not necessarily be like, go talk to that person and then you sign a $10,000 deal. They might be, who knows? Like, I'm not one to tell you how your manifestation is going to go. But usually, if it's something that doesn't make sense, like, go and buy, like this crystal egg or something. By the way, check out this crystal egg. It's like citron and rose quartz. Like, go and buy yourself a painting. Go and buy yourself a new necklace or whatever. And you're like, what the fuck does this have to do with like getting a client? And sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean that like that specific action is going to lead you to the next client. But what it does, I'm not playing. What it does to your system is give it enough space and also enough trust in action. Because what you're telling your body and mind at this point in time is that I am enough. I have done enough. Even though the client is not coming and my payment is due on Friday and it's Wednesday, it's 7 p.m. I have done everything in my power and I'm enough for doing that. I am brilliant and I believe that and I trust that whatever I say goes, that my manifestation is out there and that it's happening and that I'm awesome and that my client is going to come no matter what. Still here. You essentially back this up in action by saying like, yeah, I've done enough to the point where I do deserve to go get a latte. I do deserve to go shoot some rockets. And this gives your system, energy, emotional system, whatever, a little bit of cohesion. They stop fighting each other. Because you're here sitting downloading all of these amazing things of I'm amazing, I'm enough, and you're journaling every single morning and you're meditating and you have a coach telling you this, or you have other people, or you have endless Instagram quotes telling you this. And then you're like, well, where's my client? And in action and in your hamster wheel mind, you are still repeating that cycle of this assumption of who or what you actually need to do or be in order to get that next client. And that's this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. And the minute that this space occurs is when you either create an amazing post or when the things that you have already done all of a sudden light up. So one thing I was telling my client last night is like, have you guys seen, I've been on here for a while, but it seems like you guys are still listening and liking this, but have you guys seen those like old school, like detective cork boards where if there's like a case, detective case, where there would be like a picture of the fugitive and then like a place and then some other connecting thing and then a picture from a security camera or whatever, and there would be like these yarns, like the string of yarn that's connected to each one of those thumbtacks. What you're doing when you are in the spinning hamster wheel and are still putting out content, you're basically putting in thumbtacks. So it still works, it just doesn't have juice behind it, right? It's almost like placing a lamp without placing a light bulb into it. Okay, so it's not like the lamp doesn't work, it's just not quite serving its purpose because it hasn't been infused with electricity. So what happens whenever you free up the space, whenever you integrate your inner self and your, all of these things that you perhaps believe about yourself or you think you believe about yourself, then you back it up with action. That is when electricity happens, and all those thumbtacks that you have put in, no matter what kind of state you've been, all of a sudden light up. And that's how essentially, energetically I have received that other client that has seen another post or whatever, or the ability for you to have a completely different perspective to see somebody in your field, because now there's a level of readiness. They're here, but you're here spinning. What do I need to do to get this client? What do I need to do to get this client? They're like, hi, I'm over here. And you're like, I am actually pretty awesome and I'm ready to serve at this level so I can actually show up and solve their problems. Hi, how are you doing? Do you want to play? Is this making sense for you guys? That's essentially what happens energetically. And I am hoping that these kinds of stories and analogies are helping you guys unravel some of the energetic myths of what is happening here. And I hope that some of these kind of storytelling things are showing you also what's possible on the other side. The step one of this process that I shared is probably the most difficult one. I never really spent enough time with step one. So I would go to step two, and remember like my brilliance and my offer, etc. And it would be almost like a temporary pain pill where it would get me to that energetic standpoint. And then it would get me to the energetic standpoint of like seeing the client and what they need and really understanding it. But that deep-seated root fear was still there, which is why for like a few months, every single like end of the month, the shit would come up over and over, which is why it would continue to test me. And now it's pretty wild, you guys. And I say this not to brag. I say this to inspire. But over the last 4 months, I barely marketed in business. Prior to the last 3 months, I was making consistent 5-figure months in my business. And over COVID, it kind of slipped because I was like heartbroken and I was going through some serious life change, etc. I just got a whole bunch of hearts from whoever just popped in. And whoever just popped in, I highly recommend watching the replay. There's a lot of juice in here. And so I was under this impression of like, I need to like market or else my business is going to die. And that was far from the truth, because what happened in... Sorry about that. My phone is being Oh, hi Akshaya. Good to see you. I was wondering who that was. Good to see you. Okay, sorry. So over the last 3 months, what has happened is a lot of the patterns that were continuing to have me invest in like such high and crazy mentorships that even though I was making 5-figure months, I'm wondering if I don't know. Can you guys hear the conversation outside my door? It's just like kind of really distracting to me. My neighbors are like chatting like right outside my door. So over the last like 3 months, I really took an internal journey where a lot of these patterns that kept showing up over and over and over again, that even though I was making shit tons of money, I was not keeping any of it because I didn't actually feel like I deserved to. I didn't actually feel like I was worthy of it. So a lot of the money would literally, I would just be like the middleman for it, and I would go ahead and hand it over to other coaches that were mentoring me at that time, right? So it kept me in the same hamster wheel no matter how much money I was making. Is this making sense to you guys? So up until I really dispelled the paradigms over the last 3 months, I mean, it took spending some time with step number one. It really took spending some time with step number one. And what has happened over the last 3 months, I still have been attracting clients with like barely marketing. And a lot of it is just because of my energetic stance, of who I've become, of what kind of energetic loops I have dispelled within myself, of what I feel about money now, and how I feel like I can create, and how I feel about my work, and how I feel about myself. And it was beyond a journaling affirmation. It became such a visceral experience that it really like clicked in to who I am. And this is what I wish for every single one of you. However, the reason why it's coming up so incredibly hard right now is because you guys really need to go ahead and take a look at that. Yes, yeah, you guys hear the conversations outside? Is that what it is? Let me go see if I can. Just a second. A little bit, yeah. I was on the live stream and the people can hear it. Okay, thank you. You guys are still here. Okay, sorry about that. They were really understanding. My neighbors are really nice. But what I was saying is like, when you really spend some time with step one, when you really listen to what this anxiety wants to say, it's going to show up in more and more scary ways. For me, it showed up in a version of a heartbreak. And now there's been mitigation within the relationship, where I'm like a totally new person, where my business is taking a totally new direction, where there's like such a level of deep self-reliance, where I've actually had, this is weird, but I feel like I have to get over it talking about money like in a non-bragging way. But I had uh, $10,000 come in that is not from my business. Part of it was a refund, part of it was a tax refund, part of it was COVID benefits. Right. And I remember I was like freaked out about money one day, and I was like, no, why am I freaked out? I'm all good. And I like looked at my bank account and I was like, who put that there? Right. And then I was doing the math on my business, and I had intended for June to be a $10,000 month, and we're there. And I was like, when did that happen? Like, how did that happen? I don't really recall really like pushing towards it. It was just something that I had intended. So as soon as you integrate like your energetic, your visceral ability to really believe this by really facing it head on, this is what's possible for you. And I used to look at these kind of bragging things whenever people would like brag online about the same things. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how do you get to this like magical space? And the only way out of it and the only way into this magical space, you guys, is through, which is why like whenever that anxiety comes up, is really going there and feeling it is really important, is giving it space to really say everything that it needs to say to you. It's going to be like a crying child. It has probably so much to say to you, especially if you have pushed it away for so long and have relied on certain strategies up until now. The space where humanity is now in the step of evolution, there's almost nothing that's going to fall through the cracks anymore. And that's, it's unfortunate. So a lot of these kinds of like crux periods where you just really feel tested in your panic, where you really feel like that pressure cooker feeling, I really have the utmost compassion for it, and I'm here for you, and I'm happy to answer questions about it. And also just know that what's on the other side of going through that is magic. Like, I'm just like, did I like get a new skin? Did I get new hair? Like, did I get like a new energetic body? My ex-boyfriend, well, who like I broke up with, like we are now reconciling our relationship, and he's just like, I don't even like recognize you. You're like a different person. I'm like, I know, I don't even recognize myself now, and in a good way, that a lot of this kind of self-reliance really can happen. I went off way longer of a tangent than I ever wanted to, but I feel like you guys are sucking this information up right now, so that means it's needed. So that's step one. Is to dive deep, is to get through the shit, is to feel the pain, is to feel the panic, is to ask it what it wants, is to remove yourself from like, what's the truth here? Am I actually gonna get homeless? Like, what's the truth? Am I actually such a failure in life? Like, what if I never sign another client ever again? What is the truth about me and what I feel like I deserve for myself outside of that? What is the truth about what if my business burns down tomorrow because I'm going to be heartbroken for the rest of my life and I can't market? What's the truth of that? I just realized I was nodding and you can't see me like on a Zoom call. No, I can't see you on the Zoom call. So yeah, huge growth in the last 3 months, 4 months. Yes, absolutely. So much so. And a lot of it just, it took a lot of diving in and having the kind of mentorship where people allow you that kind of creative inquiry into what's going on and holding that kind of space for you. It's really profound and really important. And then, of course, when it comes to signing clients in panic mode, if you're feeling that, does that mean it's going to be a super like wormhole transformative experience? It can be. Or, if it doesn't get fully eradicated, in one sweep, which it's possible, but it's not for everyone. It just depends on how your energy functions. Then step 2 would be, like I said, go and remember your offer, really study it, really take a look at it, really extrapolate it, really just study every single phase of it. Become like a really curious, I was going to say magic school bus, and I was thinking Inspector Gadget, some sort of weird combination of the both. Become like a really curious child of your own artwork of like, whoa, I made this really beautiful thing. Look at this line over here. Wow, that's really amazing. of that kind of attitude towards it, because you're going to create this childlike excitement that's then going to create this outwards energy. Whoa, what just happened? I love Zoom too. And then, of course, focus on them. Focus on the people that need you. Focus on why you're doing this in the first place. And it's for you guys. Because, yeah, that's what I'm doing this for. Because this level of magic is available to you. And I would love for you guys to get there a lot faster than I ever did. For me, it was a long struggle to get there. And the realizations behind actually getting here, I'm like, I just put myself through so much unnecessary fuckery. Like, why did I just do that? Why did I just go through that kind of self-abuse? I don't know what that was. I can testify that in that perseverance and minimizing doubt will help the subconscious and the now for the future. Yeah, absolutely. And like on a collective scale too. On a collective scale as well. That the more people do this kind of work, the more contagious our energy becomes for others to adapt that kind of level of subconscious authority rather than looping patterns of self-doubt, because those are kind of like a flu, or those are literally a human virus, like an emotional and psychological virus is what they are, is these thought patterns of feeling like you're not enough or whatever. That's not natural. That's a virus in our system that's not supposed to be there. We're actually all brilliant and creative and beautiful and have amazing gifts to offer to each other. Absolutely. Thank you all for being here. I am going to go ahead and wrap this up. I can't believe how long I've been on, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been on for an hour. I am going to be coming on about signing clients out of thin air, and it's going to be more on this, but a little bit more structured so you guys can follow it a little better. So thank you to all that have joined me. I did not expect to be on for as long as I did or to go on as much of a tangent, but before I hopped on here, I did a short meditation to connect with my divine and to ask it to guide me in what I needed to say to make sure it's the most value for you guys. And having said that, it is my immense hope that you guys have received immense encouragement to keep doing the inner work as well as outer, to keep showing up. There's a reason why you want to develop these businesses. There's a reason why you're freaking out about the next client, because they are indeed out there and they're waiting for you. They are in your field right now. I can pretty much promise you that. They are in your field, and I know some of you guys, you feel them, but it's your job to energetically align to where they are. So that is that. If you guys have any questions about anything that I have mentioned, I do have a variety of one-on-one programs too at a variety of price levels that start at low 4 figures. I do have programs that are as low as $1,500 and they go up from there depending on the level of support that you need and depending on where you are in business. The Heart Master has showed up. Is this Kira? I think Kira has showed up. The Heart Master has showed you. Are you guys seeing all these hearts? So on that note, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and PM me. If you guys have any questions about anything I've mentioned, about how the hell like dispelling your own inner anxiety will help you get out and sign your next client, about how client manifestation works. I love talking about it. I love meeting you guys. I love talking to you guys. And please, please, please feel free to share your feedback in the group. I want this to be an interactive space. The next live stream and the next training is going to be talking more about this stuff, which is clients out of thin air. I love you all. I hope you had a beautiful evening, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers. Aloha.